My job is easy to welcome all of you for this AGM. I see a lot of faces I'm familiar with, as much as I won't remember everybody. And more happy that we are being visited by the General Secretary of the Union who initiated this AGPAC, Comrade Andrew Creel, is here with us today. And I think it's quite a blessing for us to have him present. Sometimes you plow and if you don't go and look at whether the seedling is growing, and it may fade. We are happy that you came, and you'll see. I'm sure you have seen already. I must welcome everybody, all the visitors, all the guests. I saw on the list. We believe that all the time we need to get ideas and advices, and we always grow. If we look at what happened in our last meeting, it's quite different. Actually, you'll see on the report the change, and it comes from many people. Sharon leading, but many people. I'm sure all of you have been contributed to make it work. Also welcome all the board members. I think they've been very active. In fact, in our board, I can't remember having one board member absent this year, right? Except today, our chairman is committed to another meeting. I must say that I'm very pleased of what I've seen. You'll see on the report. And people have really changed and do things in a different way. You know, I attended some of these courses, some of the workshops. Teach Like a Champion. It's amazing to me. I think it's making a big difference. Now you see the excitement of the teachers after getting those kind of experience advices. You can see they feel now they're under control. You know, things have been changing and to the right direction in my view. But change never ends. We have to keep on making those changes to make sure that things are being improved. And all of us as we are here will contribute. More important, the contribution we are making to the nation. I always say that. We are not contributing to school or teachers or kids. We are contributing to the nation. A wiser nation is an educated nation. You can go all over the world. When you see engineering and people coming with new ideas of doing things an easy way, it comes from education. Now, we are playing a very important role in my view. So, in those words, I would like to welcome all of you and wish you a successful meeting. Thank you. Karen.
The next item on the agenda, we're going to do the financial reports. Unfortunately, our accountant is not with us today, so Hazel has kindly offered to do the financial report for us on behalf of the organization. Thank you. Thanks, Diane.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
I'm here to present the financials on behalf of Sean, who is away on holiday. EduPic's financial statements are for the period 1st January 2017 to December 2017. The auditors are Harry Curtis and Company. It's a chartered accounting firm. The audited financial statements were signed off by the EduPic directors on the 22nd of February 2018. The financial affairs of EduPic are all in order as reported by the auditors. And I'll read just an extract of the report to the directors. Financial results. The financial position and operating results of the company for the year ended 31st December 2017 are adequately reflected in the accompanying annual financial statements. Events subsequent to the year, no material fact or circumstances has occurred between the accounting date and the date of this report, which affects the financial position of the company or EduPic as reflected in these financial statements. Should you require a copy of the audited financial statements, they will be available from the EduPic office. They are not in your annual reports. We just have a summarized version in the annual report. The income, so I'm going to speak to page 41 of the annual report, which is the summarized version. The total income received in the 2017 financial year is 10,166,886, less expenditure of 9.3 million. This year, the EduPic financials reflect a surplus of 799,000 rand versus 2016, when they had a deficit of 722,000 rand. Over the past 2 years, the project wrote off all its redundant stock by donating the EduPic stock to organizations where it was required or who would be able to better use it, because EduPeg work has changed over time. This resulted in the loss the financial loss reported over the 2 years, which ended in 2016 financial year. 397,000 of the 799,000 surplus reflected in the 2017 financial statements is applicable to 2018 activities. Funders pay in 2017, but their financial year only ends normally in March of 2018, which means EduPeg has the money for work which is only going to be carried out in the following financial year. The project has a retained income of 2.2 million, of which 1.9 million is cash and cash equity, and the rest is asset-based. EduPeg would like to thank the donors, both those who donated cash or kind, as reflected on the last page of the annual report, for their contribution to enable EduPeg to continue with their meaningful work in the schools. I would also like to take the opportunity to thank Tia, the office manager who is responsible for all the financial administration and for keeping good and full records of income and expenditure for the project. It has assisted with keeping the audit fees stable, and we've been advised by the auditors that the systems that are used in EduPeg are all compliant, and that information is all contained in the full annual financials audited statements. I'd also like to thank Sean, who's the accountant. It makes it so much easier for us in board meetings to read the financials, to be able to answer questions, and he knows what's going on, for sorting out the accounting system and the tax affairs that were outstanding. And Sean's been with us for 2 years, if I remember correctly. I'd also like to report that all EduPeg tax affairs are in order, and all statutory payments are made monthly, as is required by legislation. Thank you, Taryn, for turning the project around and for managing the financial affairs of EduPeg in accordance with the approved budget as such. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay.
Could you not comment about this? Just one point that Hazel needs to.
I just wish to advise you that there's an error on page 41. The books has where it says that where it reflects the 799,000. It's not a deficit, it's a surplus this year. So my report is directly off the annual financial statements, and that is a typo which we'll correct.
Thank you.
So just to firstly, before I begin my presentation, just to thank my board, if I don't get a chance to do it, to thank you very much. Some of the board members have been with the project from inception, Jabu and Amon, and it's a long journey, so they've really walked this with me, and I really appreciate the trust that you've put into me with the project. They keep me on a tightrope sometimes, but they've also given me a lot of leg room to run with a lot of interesting ideas, so I'm very grateful for that. So thank you very much for your support. So I'm not gonna present for too long, and I'm feeling this dissonance between the two rooms. But just to say, before we were in one room and it was too small, and now we're in 2 rooms. But I might just have to walk across so I can see you all in the eyes. So I'm sorry for the people in this room. We're very grateful for you being here. And just to welcome, I also wanted to welcome my donors, who are, some of them are on this side. So Standard Bank, Volkswagen, FP&M CETA, I don't know if they're here, SACTU, as Jabu has mentioned. We're very grateful to have Andre here from SACTU. And then also to welcome, we got a lot of principals and AVIS, HCI Foundation. We also wanted to welcome some of the principals and the school leaders that are the school leadership teams that are here with us today, and to welcome officials from the Department of Education. We've got quite a few circuit managers with us, and we're really grateful for the time you've put in, and then just partners and friends in general. So thank you, everybody. We know it's also the end of the term, and it's quite a busy time for everybody. So very grateful that you're all here. So just to revisit our vision and mission, that we feel like we actually are living more and more into this vision and mission, of becoming a sought-after provider of quality educational mentorship and support to teachers in primary schools. And you'll see we're going to expand this vision. So we've also been working on it this week. We've had team building this week. So my team, over the last couple of days, we've all been together in this hotel working together to see how we can go deeper in what we do and to better serve the organization and serve the country. So yesterday we had a fantastic trip to Robben Island. It was a very touching experience for all of us. For some of us had never been before due to fear of the ocean or seasickness, and a lot of us overcame our fears. For a lot of members of the team, this was a dream come true. They'd always wanted to go to Robben Island. There were also personal connections in this organization to some of the prisoners in Robben Island. So it's a very deep and meaningful experience that we had. And it also just reminded us of the vision of our organization and why we do the work we do. And this goes back to the moral purpose of why we're in education in the first place, is to actually uphold the values and the freedoms that the political prisoners in Robben Island fought for our freedom. And we continue to fight that fight. So I want to say that we're very aware that things aren't the way they're supposed to be in this country. And we don't believe it's right that children aren't educated with quality education. And as an organization, that is our vision and our mission, is to fight for that. So we will continue to fight the fight that was fought back there, and we've all committed to that, and we worked into that. And this week we spoke a lot about our values, about how we're going to drive our mission forward as an organization. I'm extremely proud of the team, and I've started with the team because they do the work in the schools and they do it in very challenging environments. And the principals in this room also know about the challenging environments that they work in. One of our schools in the room had a horrible incident in the last 2 weeks, Rwandle. So there's been some. It's still a very challenging environment to work in, and we just want to acknowledge that and acknowledge the teachers and acknowledge the context in which we work. And just to say that I'm extremely grateful for the quality of the team that we have in this organization and for the hard work that they do. So this is still, I mean, we all know this quote, but I think it's a very important quote. It is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. And it's what we believe as an organization. And we strive for the ideals that Mandela fought for. So ultimately, this is our goal. We believe that every child, and it doesn't have to be university, but every child in this country should have the opportunity, or at least the right school that they can go to, that this can be an achievable goal for them. So that's where we'd like to go as an organization. These are the schools that we currently support. So I'm just going through the numbers of currently in our project. We're working in 48 schools around the country. That's how it's broken down. We support 286 mentees. So by mentees, I mean teachers, and 12,200 learners. On top of the mentees, we're also supporting the leadership teams at those schools. So that's 4 to 6 people per school, per 48 schools. We've been using Teach Like a Champion, as you all know, and I'm not going to introduce this again because I think everyone in this room knows, and you can read a lot about it in our annual reports. But we have noticed over the last 3 years, and you'll see a little video about that, that these small changes make an incredibly huge difference to teaching practice. So these are some of the things that we do in the classroom. We work alongside the teachers. We use a journal. Our project was accredited by SACE last year. We're quite fortunate with the number of points we got. So in a 3-year cycle, a teacher has to get 150 professional development points. With our project, for every 3 workshops that they attend, they get 5 points. And then for the mentorship program itself, for a year of mentoring, they get 45 professional development points. So that's 50 points per year if they participate fully. And some of them don't leave the project after a year. Some of them continue for another year or 2 afterwards. And we really go individual by individual. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach in how we mentor teachers. And we also we spend time giving feedback to the teachers afterwards and within the classroom. And we also give feedback to the principals. So you'll see some of those pictures of our mentors with principals. We also hold workshops after schools with teachers. Just a couple of pictures of the workshops. They're very well attended, and I think it's because the nature of the work we do is so practical. Teachers can take that and they can apply it in their classrooms almost immediately, and that makes a huge difference in terms of the enthusiasm of how they receive us. So just in the Western Cape, and I'm speaking to the Western Cape because we're in the Western Cape, and also we've got a lot of people represented from the Western Cape in this room. But we've expanded the project in the Western Cape from 6 schools in 2015 to 17 in 2018. And this is largely due to this relationship that we've had with the Western Cape Education Department, which has been a really good one. And as part of that, we were asked by the HOD to be part of the 100 Schools project, which is a project to support isiXhosa schools, 100, I think it's just over 100 isiXhosa schools in the Western Cape. So we're part of that project, and we currently support 13 of those 100 schools. And just to say, we're quite proud of the results that we've had in this project. What's so wonderful about the Western Cape is we have the systemic results. We wish we had this as a benchmark for all our provinces, because it's a really great benchmark because it's externally evaluated and it's continuous. So every year it's the same test that they get year in, year out. So we think this is a very good indication of a true baseline of what we've managed to achieve in these schools. So you'll see the blue mark is the combined language and maths class score in 2017, and the blue is where we began. And we can't take credit for all those results. We know there's other interventions in schools, and we also know that it's the schools themselves that are working very hard. But we think we've played quite a big part in that, and the principals and the teachers have told us that. So we're very proud of these results. We were also fortunate. Standard Bank gave us the opportunity to be evaluated, have an external evaluation by the University of Johannesburg. The evaluation actually took place in 16, and the results were released last year. There was some things that we were tasked with improving, but overall the results were positive, and educators under the mentorship were described as being more knowledgeable, since being part of the program, better able to plan for lessons, and their ability to manage classrooms and improved delivery of CAPS is evidenced by significant increases in learner results between terms 1 and terms 4 for English and maths for both foundation and intermediate phases. So that's what we've managed to achieve. So we feel as an organization that we've tried out a concept with Teach Like a Champion. We think it's working pretty well. But in order to strengthen our project, we think that the most significant part, or the most important thing that we can actually do, is work with the school management teams and the leadership teams of the schools. Because without doing that, the project isn't going to be sustainable. If we just work with a couple of teachers and leave the schools and leave, it's not going to work. So that's where our project is heading. We started this work last year with the project called Lead Like a Champion. And we're going to continue this work and strengthen and develop it this year and going on. So it'll be something that will run parallel to the Teach Like a Champion of the in-classroom teacher mentorship support. We're also going to work with the leadership teams at schools, and we've already started that work. And this is the sort of cycle of how we see that working. But overall, above all of that is what we call an agency and accountability, is making sure that the school management teams and the schools themselves are taking ownership of their own professional development and moving forward with that, so that they continue to improve without EduPeg being in the schools with them. So we see ourselves as a change agent. We're an intervention. We'll be in schools for a couple of years, and we hope in that time we can spark something that'll unlock people's potential to continue to improve educational outcomes for learners in their schools. So we've been using, and you're going to hear from Al later on. We've been using context, sorry, just give me 1 second. We've been using content from his book, Shifting Paradigms, Changing Practice, and we've also been using an international publication called Get Better Faster. So this is a 90-day plan for coaching new teachers. In the organization, we've used it ourselves. Linda introduced that to us, and we've been using it with our mentors on how to effectively coach new teachers. But we're also taking some of these tips and we're putting into what we do with the school leadership teams, so that they're able to better support the teachers in their schools. So that's the content that we pull it out. And I'm not going to go into this too much because Al's going to talk about this, but basically our focus on Lead Like a Champion is going to be on instructional leadership. So instructional leadership is concerned with the core business of teaching and learning. So instructional leadership is not the principal fundraising for other things in their school. It's actually what goes on in the classroom. So it's the learner, it's the teacher, and it's the curriculum. It's at that point where everything happens around making sure that that learner is well educated. That's instructional leadership. And that's the focus of our leadership training. It's not everything. We will not be helping school management teams with finances, with fundraising, with all of those things. We are just focused on teaching and learning. And we're very clear and crystal clear about that is our focus as an organization. So we've started the work. Some of the circuit managers in the room were part of helping us pilot this program. Many of the school leadership teams are in the room that were at this workshop. And if you want to say anything about it later, you're very welcome. But this is the work we've just started in the Western Cape, and we will be rolling it out across the country, across all our schools. So, as I mentioned earlier, talking about moral purpose, the moral purpose of schooling is that teaching at its core is a moral profession. Scratch a good teacher and you'll find a moral purpose. And that's what we believe as an organization, is that at the core, at the root of what we're doing is moral purpose. And we're trying to change educational outcomes for children in this country. So going forward, our project will have 3 important and complementary parts to drive systemic improvement in schools. One will be Teach Like a Champion, that's working in the classroom at that level, in that center of the bubble, with the teacher, with the learner, with the curriculum. Then we're going to be working with Lead Like a Champion, is our leadership teams. And then we've called it Support Like a Champion, but this is basically working with the departments who are the supporters of the schools. So we want that partnership to exist so that the work that we're doing is also complemented by the work of the department and vice versa, that we complement the work of the department. Because ultimately, as we've in these conversations with the department, obviously we all want the same thing. So we feel that that's an important component of our project that we need to look into next, is how do we work with the department more. Okay, so I'm going to take a pause. Before we go there, just next, a little bit further down, I'm going to have I'll talk to you about leadership. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But just to mention that we've kind of come to a point. Hazel mentioned earlier that we've got rid of the EduPeg materials. Some people in the room were a little bit confused because initially there used to be EduPeg books, EduPeg materials in their schools, and now we've come in with something completely different. And they're like, "Are you the same organization? What does EduPeg do?" And it's a question we've started struggling to answer because we've gone through such a dramatic transformation as an organization. So basically, over the last 3.5 years, we've redesigned this program, which is starting to show results, as I've just shown you. And we've actually phased out the EduPeg materials, and we now focus solely on Teach Like a Champion and Lead Like a Champion to support our schools. So we've also recently had our mentoring program accredited by SACE, and it's been demonstrated that by the success of the evaluation that it's starting to work. So basically, the PEG part of what we do no longer really reflects what we do in the schools. And so we felt as an organization that it was time for a name change. I don't know if now is a good time to take my jacket off. Because I'm getting hot as well. So our new name is Edufundi. And just to mention that in order to get approval for the new name Edufundi, we had to go back to our founding donors and supporters, and that was SACTU, South African Clothing Textile Workers Union. So Andre can talk a little bit about this as well, but I had to get permission from the NEC of SACTU to get permission to change our name. So we've been given permission by SACTU, and we've been given permission by the EduPeg board to change our name. So just to mention, the reason we've changed to Fundi is because the root of the word Fundi is actually umfundisi, which is teacher. And what we're trying to do, we're not saying that we are Fundis. We're saying that our mission is to unlock that expertise in education. We're trying to be a bit more humble than that. But ultimately, what we want to do is create fundis, right? We want to create fundi, master teachers, master learners. So that's a goal, and that feels quite aspirational to become education experts. So that's our new name, and I'm going to. I don't know if my team is very quiet at the back, but earlier they had a lovely walk. Fundi, edu, fundi, edu, fundi, edu. Thank you very much. Education is a journey. We're in it together, and if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. And we want to work together with everyone in this room to achieve our goals. So we're very grateful for everyone being here and being on this path together with us. I think the next part is for you to hear from the people that we support, which are the teachers. So we put together quite a long video, but it's showing all the teachers that we support around the country. So this was filmed in the Eastern Cape, in Gauteng, and the Western Cape. Last year we showed some of our KZN teachers. So I'm going to play a video for you, and then after this video, we're going to have one of the stars of the video come speak to you. So I'll show you the video first. Okay.
I wanted to be a teacher because I've seen children suffering. So I said, no more suffering. If you are there for our children and the community, we will do the best. I've been teaching for 28 years.
In May this year was a year.
1 year, 10 months.
It's almost 2 years.
This is my 3rd year.
I've been a teacher for 3 years now.
4 years, almost 5 years.
Now is the 7th year.
8 years now.
13 jaar onderwyseres.
I've been teaching for 17 years.
More than 20 years.
21 years.
21 years.
21 years.
24 years.
25 years. 28 years.
Over 36 years. Almost 40 years now. I wanted to be a dentist. That was my first choice. And then I found out that I can't stand blood. So education was my second choice, and it also helped the fact that, we used to play school after school, and I would always be the teacher.
I've always loved children, and I've always loved teaching, and I've also always loved standing in front of people. So I guess they all just kind of come together. So yeah, and I really, really, really love it.
I came from a family of teachers. My sister was a teacher, and it also had an influence on me. The way she has shown passion in her teaching, it just blew my mind away.
I was born in a family of teachers, like grandparents, teachers, aunts, uncles, cousins. So teaching, I feel, was in my blood.
I think it was the love of children, because I loved interacting with young kids, the young ones from the age of 3.
Most mornings, as most people, it's a mission to get up in the morning and you don't want to leave the house. And then when you come to school and you see their little faces and they get so excited to see you and they smile and they hug you, and just for me, that makes my whole day.
I love teaching, and I throw everything that I have to learners.
My grandmother was so cruel. As a result, I started working at the age of 9. She took me out of school, then she sent me to Lesotho to go to work for another nurse that was working in Eastern Cape in Paddy. So I went and worked there looking after the kids, but I was a kid also. I was always shouted because I forget at times. Because I'm looking after the kid, I'm a kid. But in my mind, there was something that, I had a teacher in standard 2 then. She would say, out of you there will come nurses, doctors, principals, lawyers. Then in my mind, I was always having that one day I will graduate. I'll find a job at St. Francis Adult Education Center as a secretary. The principal, Mjuleni, and I was calling her Mom Nuku, she was a secretary. Those ladies, they said, no, you are going to school. Open your eyes, start working. Forgotten her name. I was always going to her office crying. Do you think I'm called for this? Then she will always tell me that, you know what, you are going to make it. No, don't cry. You are a teacher. We can find a teacher from you. Even the kids that they were sending us to, they helped me a lot to find really I'm a teacher, and I began to love kids. I began to bond with the kids. And it was so easy for me, as on my first year, they were like, is it your first year really? Yes, it's my first year. It's because of my mentors.
My father passed away in 1970, so we went to live with my mother only. So she was the only one in the family. So I said to myself, if I want to be a teacher so that I can help other children at home and in the community. I love teaching, I love children, that is the main thing.
I went to this route because it was something that was easier for me, because I had no parents. I grew up, I was the eldest at home. My mother passed away when I was doing standard 10. So, and I was the eldest. So it was the easiest one and the one that gives me bursary. So I decided to take it because we're gonna need something to live and to support the younger ones at home. Then when I'm here, I said, no man, I love kids. This is where I belong.
What made his mother to love him? Zintle? I wanted to be a teacher when I was growing up because of the environment that I was living in, because I'm coming from the Eastern Cape, from those rural areas. And it was the first time for me to come in a big city. I wasn't even comfortable, first of all, with the environment. Then I have to work in this big city. And then I'm finding school here and new people, everything was new to me. And it was so difficult, I don't want to lie to you.
My daughter was born with Down syndrome, and I actually wanted to do special needs to cope with her needs and to better her. Being a teacher, you should be a lifelong learner, and I'm open to any challenge, and I like to learn. So that's why my door was open for EduPig and Garden. And this year, the beginning of the year, I got into it with the techniques that I've covered last year. I got into it, my entry routine, my exit, my classroom management, the tools and the type of techniques that I can use in the class is just working for me, and this program has helped me a lot. The techniques that I'm using for my classroom discipline, I can actually, in the morning, when they do now as they come in, I can do my register. And they are set in their routine, they know what they are supposed to do. When they come into the classroom, their do now is ready, it's on the board, they're settled.
My seun, hy het leerprobleme ondervind en ek kon nie die onderwysterme verstaan waarmee die onderwysers gekommunikeer het met my nie. En ek het so 'n passie ontwikkel om vir hom te wil help. En toe het ek besluit, hoekom gaan studeer ek nie onderwys nie, dan kan ek my kind beter help. En dit was grootliks die rede hoekom ek 'n onderwyseres geword het.
I wanted to give up teaching before Edupeg started at school, and I told the mentor, look, I had enough of teaching, I am just going to quit, and she's been encouraging me all the time and showing me, and actually I felt that, okay, somebody is seeing my work and the type of work I'm doing and encouraging me, and I thought, just give it a try, and now I feel I can do it for another 20 years.
Come, can you see your mistake? Right, great man.
Generally, my classroom was disorganized, very disorganized. Even the table was full of books. There was no lesson plan. I wasn't planning anything. I was just coming and teaching and opening a book, just teaching. But Mrs. Smith has helped me with planning, organizing of the kids, like the kids were roaming around. It was disorganized, really. I thought to myself, let me give this program a chance, because my class, I want to be a best teacher. I can see I'm failing somewhere, somehow, and I'm glad I did. My class have changed a lot. It's more like enjoyable. The kids are enjoying themselves. They're more disciplined. They know exactly what to do and when to do it. Even the marks has improved a lot because they're more relaxed. I've got them now in a more relaxed manner. They can participate. The class is always joyful, so they enjoy it. They even enjoy coming to school.
Like I have a 2-year-old, né? So the strong voice. Because then before you just, stop it, stop it, stop it. No, now it's like, Tabo, stop it. And then I look at him. He'll go on and then he will stop. So you see, it's helping already. There at home, it helps.
My kids were not behaving very well. So I thought that I was lacking the discipline measures. So through mentorship of Edupeg, I've got the measures how to discipline the kids. So it made a great difference because my kids now are well behaving through using those strategies we were mentored by the Edupeg program.
I started working with Mom Linda this year. It's such a great pleasure. Most of the time she would come and it would be home language, which is English in our school. Then I would say, you know what, go to another class, you'll come back for maths, because when it comes to home language English, I know we've been working together for a long time, so develop me in something else. And she would come back and help me with something else. So the relationship is very good.
She's that person who is willing to help. She goes an extra mile with a person. For example, when I came here, in as much as I was a teacher, but I wasn't like a best teacher like I'm feeling right now. I'm feeling so confident in the class and I know exactly what to do. She made my life easier.
She helps on a personal level. Last week she came on Tuesday, my son was sick. And then she came back this week. She's like, you know what, I understand my child also. And then it felt good to know, okay, she understands what I'm going through. And it's easy to talk to. So the relationship we have, it's good.
The first thing I received from Mrs. Smith is love. And that thing drives me to do everything.
The first time he sit there, he did speak with me first. I'm Mr. Bill, and I've come to mentor you, to support you. I say thank you. He did support me. Now I can do my double planning, I can do my lesson, I can do everything. He did give me some journal. When I read my comments, I said, I can do much better. I will do more. Then when I studied the techniques, I said, I like joy factor. I say, I bring joy to my class.
Tamara, can you stand up and explain what I've said? My mentor is Mr. Chuma.
Thank you for your lesson for today.
Since he came to the school, we developed a brotherhood relationship. So he's mentoring a younger brother. So whenever he comes to school, even if I'm not there, he will call me to say, I heard or you are not at school, I'm here, whatever, get well. If it's a sick leave, if it's a family responsibility, he will tell me you will be well, don't stress, and all those things. So we are in a good relationship with Mr. Chuma.
They guide us in our lessons, so we know how to come up with objectives of each and every lesson through their effort. Their training, leadership training, they assist me. They gave me the template for the monitoring of the lessons, everything at the school. Every morning, I just move around and check if everyone is doing what is expected of her.
Through EduPeg being involved in my school, it's been easier for myself and my management team to implement change, to teach teachers that you start by grappling with a curriculum. And that prep and planning is vital, and that you don't just teach and assess just for the sake of doing those activities.
Mrs. Moodley, and then I worked with her. She's so amazing, and she's so humble, and I've learned a lot of things from her, more than anybody else, because she's so calm, she's so supportive. I wasn't even comfortable to have somebody in my classroom. Ish. But she made me to be comfortable, and I think she understood me. More than anybody.
Best moment is when you meet these kids, and I've been teaching for 28 years now, and you meet them and they tell you, I'm a husband, I'm a wife, I've got kids, and I've made something of myself, and you feel, well, I've done my part. Because now we are encouraging these kids not only to just go and look for work after matric, to go to university, to go to college, and a lot of our kids now are taking that route. So I'm happy. That is my highlight. If I can go on pension and enjoy my life, at least I know I have contributed to the development of our kids.
I'm thinking of maybe more recently going to a meeting where we would meet with the University of Western Cape, social work departmental head, and there were principals who were going because the students would come do their practical year. And the coordinator of the program is an ex-pupil of ours. She's doing a doctorate in social work. And then to join us there as one of the representatives of the school was a deputy principal whom I had taught at Nooitgedag Primary. That was 27 years ago. So we've made little differences in people's lives, and they now come and you see the fruits thereof.
I went shopping one day and I was pushing the trolley, and this guy was pushing and he was looking at me and pushing, and every aisle I went, I passed this guy, and I felt after a while I felt uncomfortable because this guy was now following me around every aisle, and then he stopped me and he said, "Excuse me, are you not a teacher at Northwood Primary?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Do you know you were my grade 1 teacher?" And I said, "Wow." And he ran and he called his wife and he brought his child and he said, "This was my grade 1 teacher." And that was just one of the highlights also, that they still remember you and they are so excited when they see you.
Having established rapport with my ex-learners for me is an accomplishment. Right now I'm on Facebook with so many of my ex-learners, and most of them are abroad. The one morning, one of my ex-learners gave me a Skype call, and when the phone went off, I realized, wow, you're not in South Africa, because what time is it now? I'm just about cleaning my eyes because I'm getting up. I'm saying, "Elton, wait, no, I can't speak to you now. I first need to wash. I can see you dress. It's a different time and all in your country where you are." So for me, it's interesting that I could still establish rapport with my learners when they come back and they've qualified. That for me is in itself is a highlight.
Super, great stuff.
In 1977, when I was at James Ndulula, a family was fighting and there was a divorce in between. I went to court and I was so pleased when the magistrate said to me, "Teachers, you must take good care of your children. You must be the second parents." It's like this. We as teachers, we must play a big role to our children and look through them. We can see their Atlantica, their feelings, you know. If a child is struggling, you see yourself by, something is happening here. If the child is not well cared for.
We're teaching young children who come from disadvantaged backgrounds, and we like their parents, like their mothers, we are their role models.
Children come from homes where there's no love, there's no acceptance, there's sometimes no parents.
Sometimes I give my lunch to the children. When I noticed that this one came with empty stomach.
I know that I'm a social worker, I'm a teacher, I'm a parent, the whole day.
It's the difference between a job and a call. If it's a job, I wouldn't be here.
Sometimes you receive kids in class that haven't eaten for the day or that didn't sleep for the day, especially for the areas that they come from. And then when you do set time aside to speak to that little one, just to calm him down or just to do something for her or him, I think in those little things that you do every day for that child to make a difference, that is how teachers make a difference.
Thank this lady and her team for that incredible video. So I know it was quite long, but I felt it was really important because we went to 3 provinces and there's some really interesting stories. We could have made it even longer, but I think it captures the heart of the people we work with and the work that we do. And yeah, just to say thank you. And then I also just want to do one more thank you before I introduce my next guest, is just to say thank you to Mike for the incredible hard work that's gone into producing this annual report. And we got him down to the wire. We literally finished this last Tuesday, so it was like we put a lot of pressure on him, so thank you very much. Now, the lady who got you all clapping and skipping rope in the video is going to speak to us.
She's here?
Yes, she's here. Mention, because she might be humble, Miss Kihana is from Lita Primary School. She's a grade 3 teacher. She's been teaching for 3 years only. And last year, her grade 3 maths class got 100%.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to say great to the funders of EduPack, to our mentors that they send to the school, to the whole EduPack team. May God bless you guys. May God bless you. I'm so humble. I'm so humble. Shortly, I've got nothing much to say because I think the videos has said it all. But it's in teaching, it's all about commitment. It's commitment, and what you are doing, it's coming from within you. And have a teachable spirit. Teachable spirit, be able to be flexible. Don't say this is my way. Learn from other people and research more. Find how are other people doing things. I can't keep quiet without mentioning my mentor, Mrs. Baholo, Joy Baholo. I thank to that woman. She's my mother. She's a mother to me. I'm a bit nervous. She's a mother to me. Whatever, you know, in teaching, sometimes you find that it's not happening. What medication can you use? What technique can I use? What to do? You know, you find yourself frustrated. But she comes and makes everything easy because it's easy for her to present what I'm struggling to teach. So I'll tell her straight that I really struggle to teach this part. And all the techniques that she has given me, all the presentation that she has done to me, I use it. And I'm not keeping it to myself, I'm spreading also to others, those that are not getting EduPack, because I like old people. Not that I hate young people, but from old people I learn a lot because they've got more experience than me. So each and every time when I find that I'm struggling, I'll go to their classes. So I'm that active teacher that is always playing, has that joy factor thing in her, even in the midst of a lesson. As a result, my children, Mrs. Paolo knows, in my class, the whole school is their class. They will come to my class. I'm a mother to them. I don't have a child. I'm not regretting that because God knows why. I'm not married, I'm single. But in my class, mostly what I do, for the kids that God has entrusted me that year, I make a point that I do my best as they are going to pass by because I don't know whom are they going to the next class. But I always emphasize that, out of you guys, I want teachers because I'm getting old. I want teachers. South Africa need teachers, need doctors, need all those things. So out of you, and I always share my story because I tell them that I'm coming from nowhere. I'm from being an aunt, I don't know how to call myself that time, at the age of 9 years. But out of you, I don't want anyone to go through that. I'm here for you. Use the time that you are with me as much as you can, because out of you, I want you to take your family out of the shack to Constantia, to wherever you can take them overseas, you can take them overseas. There are those kids that you'll find out that they are coming really from those backgrounds. You'll find that the child is not misbehaving because she wants to behave or he wants to behave. But as you dig deep down, you'll find that at home they are fighting. She's always in between the knives that the mother is stabbing the father is stabbing the mother. There I intervene as a social worker. That child mustn't hate her parents or his parents. I always say to them, pray for your parents. I'm here for you. I'll be a mother to you, but respect your parents. I'll implement that. And then you are your home changer. Your home will change because of you. Your area, your community, your friends around you. Be choosy when you are choosing friends, because I know you guys, you like those fights that are happening in their location, all those things. And I'll always tell them about myself that I was amongst those people that they were doing that. I could choose a lot of things. I'll mention them. I could be a prostitute, I could be anything. But in my mind, because of where I was coming from, I was telling myself, because of Miss Tito, she's late now, that one day I'll be somebody. Today I'm here standing before you. So take that and use it. I'm not saying this because I want to be better. I'm not better. But education made me better. Yes. So I want you to be better. I want one day when I'm going to the doctor or hospital, even when I don't, like during my old days, even if I cannot see, that you can remind me that you still remember me, I'm so and so. I will rest in peace when I'm passing away because of you. You are the brighter future of South Africa. You are the ones who are going to make change. I would like to say, also I cannot forget my principal, Dr. Detroit, because he's so supportive. He's so supportive, he goes extra mile in anything that we're doing at school. If maybe people that are around, because at times we get help, but we don't use it. It's them who doesn't want to use it. But if you take it and make it into use, then other people, you impact other people, because at times there are those things that she thinks she's clever, she's better, she's that. I close my eyes. I used to be so frustrated. I don't have time for other teachers. Yes, I've got them just to talk because I'm a team worker. But most of the time is for the kids. During that break time when I'm playing with them, they trust me. They learn a lot from me that, no, the teacher doesn't hate us. And you know, I was so blessed when I went to one of the classes as they are writing assessment. My last group learner, my last one, group 6. I had groups, I have 1 up to 6. Now there is in a top group in grade 4. He was so stubborn, and you can see where he was coming from. He will be cross, he will be cheeky when I'm trying to help him. But I always remind him, not in front of others, I'll sit with him down. Even when he's writing, he will write, but you'll find that he has skipped so many spaces. I'll call him for his paper. I said, you are doing this for yourself, not for me. You are doing for your future. So if you don't value education, the education will not value you. You'll end up being in the shibin, you'll end up on the streets, you'll end up being a gangster. Do you want that? No, I don't want it. Work with me. But you know, children will always, so it touched me, and as a result I burst into tears. That I didn't, and I pardoned the teacher that, who? Then he told me, it's Andisa. Andisa. I said, yes, so to me I was like, thank you. So lastly, I would say, thank you to Edufundi once more. Keep it up. For some of us, it's working. It's sometimes when it's coming, when you are coming, it's like, I'm still going to be greeted again. On my first time, it was like that, because in the university, especially CPUT, they greet us. They greet us. And then when they say, Edufundi is coming to your class, I said, again, a greeter in my class. I said, no. I said, no, we are going to take it because we are still new. But now I feel like, even next day, come. That year, come. That year, come. Thank you very much. Keep up.
Samantha's also on the cover of our annual report. And just to say, there was other amazing teachers and principals in the video that are also in the room, so we just didn't have time for everybody. Thank you. And now just to talk about our next aspect of our program, which is the leadership aspect. I'm going to invite Al and just briefly introduce Al. Al and I met in 2009, long time ago, 2010. And at the time, we were trying to figure out a way to work together. I was a funder then, and he just come back to South Africa, and now we're finally working together, and I'm very grateful.
Thank you very much, Debbie. Good afternoon to members of the board. Let me move over the side. Good afternoon, partners.
Good afternoon.
Thank you. And then at the back, good afternoon to you, my colleagues. Let me firstly start by acknowledging you, ma'am, from Little Primary School. as well as the wonderful choir that sang at the beginning of the session for us. Weren't they wonderful?
Yes.
And when I looked at them, it reminded me of why we are all here. This is why we're all here. This lovely group of children and younger people has brought us together around a common purpose. And that purpose is to give them the best possible education that we can. And the songs in their hearts and in their voices, the smiles on their faces, compels us to continue to ask the question, what is my role in contributing to their journey of life and making sure that each and every one of them achieve their full potential? So I want to just commend and affirm the work of EduPeg, now Edufundi, in terms of supporting teachers. And I'm not going to be long, I'm just going to talk about 3 quick points about why this work is important. Firstly, I'm going to, and please just forgive me for sometimes shifting out of your line of sight. I haven't disappeared, I'm still here. Firstly, we've been doing a bit of work across the country. I've been working with other organizations also. And what I've seen in the work of EduPeg is a growing footprint in terms of following pathways for effective implementation around school improvement. And there are 3 characteristics of this organization that we're picking up that has contributed to that. Firstly, the work of Edufundi is located where it matters most, and that's inside of the classroom. Now we call that the micro unit of the whole education system. We also say it's actually the most important part. Let me stand here and see if I can stand still for a minute to get everybody. We say that's also the most important part of the education system, right? Often when I do this work in schools, I say to them, it's not the school principal, it's not the National Minister of Education. The most important part of the education system sits in every school and is in the classroom. And so that's where Edufundi has located the core part of its work. And we have research that says that the biggest impact on improving learning outcomes happens in the classroom. So that's the first special feature. It's about focusing on what we call the instructional core, the teaching and learning that takes place in the classroom on a daily basis, where the teacher is engaged with the learner around issues of content and curriculum. It's really important. The second aspect of this work of Edufundi that makes it special is the fact that it has a mentor allocated to it. Our colleagues, we're finding more and more that one of the most powerful effects to improve teaching practice happens when there is a mentor working alongside you in the primary site of learning, which is the classroom, right? And that is a really, really important focus to have. Let me say that. I think that the program has a lot to offer other development and support programs in the country around what that looks like at the level of the classroom. So that's the second most important piece of this work that I think you can contribute to sharing across the country. And then the third piece, which is linked to the second piece, is around the mentoring relationship. Because it comes in asking the question, how can I support you to become even better? Not how do I judge you. You just spoke about now your teaching practice, the crit lessons, right? What are they coming to do now to find wrong with what I'm doing? And I've noticed in the short time I've been working with this organization that that element of support is really strong. So we affirm the work of our teachers. You know, we blame our teachers for lots of things. We blame schools for the failures that are happening. But very seldom do we ask the question, how can I support you to become even better, right? And that aspect of the relationship in terms of teaching and learning, we must never underestimate in terms of its transformative power. We have a culture which is quite widespread, especially in education, which is a culture of blame, right? So I come in and I try to find faults. I come in and I want to tell you where you're going wrong, right? And at the end of the day, the teachers sometimes walk out of these sessions feeling demotivated, right? Feeling attacked, right? And very often they close up to learning and development experiences. With children, the most powerful learning happens in the presence of a caring relationship. The same applies to adults. And so when we're coming with supportive relationships, of how can I help you? That video was so powerful. Just hearing the teachers speak about the relationships they had with their mentors, you could sense that that was a really, really important part of it. And so those three aspects of the work that Edufundi does, I think is really key. It's going to grow the footprint of the work in this country, I believe. And I think you must continue to work on it and to strengthen it and to support it, because I think you have a lot to offer us. Now, the leadership piece, and I'm just going to close with this. The leadership piece is a complementary piece to the work of what's happening inside of the classroom. Now, why is this important for us? Darren, you mentioned it. Firstly, what we need to support our leaders with is to build the capacity to lead schools in a way that's going to improve learning, teaching and learning. Right? And they do that basically through two things. Firstly, our leadership teams, and here I'm not only talking about our very important school principals, Mr. Riddles, right? I'm talking about our school principals together with the rest of the school management team. Okay, so it's the principal, the deputy principal, and the HODs. They're a team, right? And the first important thing they have to do at the school is to create the enabling conditions to make teaching and learning happen, right? And to improve teaching and learning. And those conditions are quite a few. Right? I'm not going to talk about all of that now, just to say that they have an important role to play in doing that. Right? Secondly, our school leaders have to, in terms of the work that's happening with EduPeg, they are responsible for embedding some of these good practices, not only in the classrooms that Edufundis are working in directly, but also embedded in the rest of the school. That's what we call school culture. The routines of practice. Right? The expectations, the values, the beliefs, that's nurtured by a school leadership team, and that should support an openness to teaching and learning. So that's the other reason why leadership is important. And then lastly, leadership is important, and Taryn mentioned it, for the sustainability of the program. Focus on leadership, the way we understand it, is to build ownership and unlock agency at the level of the school, right? And by agency, all I mean is the ability of an individual or a group of people to act on a situation and to change it. That's what we're trying to do with leadership in our schools. And when we do that well, colleagues, we'll have had a sustainable model for taking the work forward. So let me acknowledge the work you're doing once again, and I want to wish you well in terms of the road ahead for you. Thank you to all the partners too. It's lovely to come and see how my contributions live out when we see it happening in the schools. So thank you to all of you, and thanks for inviting me and having me. Thank
you. I'm sorry that I can't split myself into two people. I'd like to invite Lisette Koch, who's the head of CSI at Standard Bank. So Standard Bank has been a very generous funder, and we're very grateful for the relationship that we have with them. And I just want to mention that Zanele came for the last leadership workshop, and we arrived to a room, it wasn't our fault, it was unprepared, and she got in and rolled up her sleeves and helped us clean the room. I was incredibly embarrassed about it, but just to say that that's the kind of funders that they are. They roll their sleeves up and they get involved, and they support us in that way. So just to say thank you to both of you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I see what you mean. And I can't even stand in that corner because then they can't see me. So I'm going to be doing the same as Elle. So often when I have to go to my board, I need to convince them about how good our projects are. And in this case, Edufundi. So I'm just very blessed to know that I don't have to do this today, because I think the video spoke for itself. And I would like us just to firstly give a round of applause to Taryn, the team, our teachers, our principals, and everyone. Because even though we are the finders, we are not the disruptors. That's what you guys are here for. And we salute you. So. I actually forgot that Taryn asked me to say a few words today, so I wrote down a few notes, and I guess for my sins, I'll probably have to tell you a little bit about why we do CSI and what our focus is. But again, it's not about us as a funder. I think we're incredibly blessed to be able to make the profits that we make, because then it allows us to give back on such a big scale. So our focus is education. That's what we do. And our aim, or our theory of change, is really to improve learner outcomes in the country. And it sounds very broad, and it is very broad, but it allows us a little bit of movement if we have to. We have a very specific focus within education, and it really is in early learning. And now we all know what the research tells us, so I'm not going to go through all of that. But the focus is early learning, and our focus is on teachers, because that's really where our expertise lie. We've moved away from doing learner-supported programs. Not that they're not important, it's just that learners move out of the system and they go with the information, and it's likely to move with them. The great thing about investing in teachers is that 80% of the time they remain within the system. It's few and far in between where they get absorbed by the private sector, and so it makes it more important for us to focus on what we have in the public sector. So what I just want to, and the notes are really just for the stats, because I really want to get into the stats. This partnership is in its 5th year, Taryn? Am I correct? Yeah. So we've invested around 25 million in this project, and it's purely because we believe in bigger investments in fewer projects for a longer period of time. And we've seen the results, and the independent study that the University of Johannesburg has done has confirmed exactly that. So, I don't know if you've shared some of the Western Cape results with the audience, but I thought I'll just speak to our school. So, we support 27 schools overall, but obviously because of the Western Cape being such a fantastic province, we are able to, get better statistics. So I'm going to share that with you. So just from 2013, we've improved, the partnership rather, has improved numeracy from 40% up to 73% in 2017. That deserves that. And then our literacy results have gone from 19% in 2013 to 54% in 2016. So, well done, Clay and the team of Education Disruptors, and that's really what this is about. Is about the partnership and the fact that we can come together and help each other and make the change that needs to be made. So thank you.
Thank you, Lucy. So, yeah. So just to, the next person on the agenda is the General Secretary of SACTU, Mr. Andre Creel, and we're very grateful to have you here joining us, because we haven't had you before, and it's wonderful, and I hope you enjoy. I hope you enjoy your afternoon with us.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to park here because and one of the first things that I was taught when I became a trade unionist 30 years ago is you must make sure that every word you utter, actually you'll be able to defend it in future. So I've written down, and I won't be long, but I think it's very important just to start with greetings. So in absentia, I'd like to greet Amon Ntuli, who is the chair of the board. But for those of you who also don't know, he's also the previous president of Southern African and Clothing Textile Workers Union. I'd like to greet Jabu Ngobo, who is one of my predecessors, a previous General Secretary of SACTU, and I'm so pleased also to see him today. I'd like to greet Taryn Casey, the CEO of the project. I'd like also to greet all the other directors of the board. I see Hazel Jacobs, who is from SACTU itself. I see Corinne Abel, who is also one of the previous CEOs of the project. And I see Fadila Cooper sitting there. And for the board members who don't know, Fadila and I come a very long way. We were students at the University of Cape Town many, many moons ago, and I'm so pleased to see her also after so many years. I'd like to also then greet the staff of Edufundi, and I'd also like to say hi to Tobeka, and I hope I get this right, Kigana, teacher of Lita, Dr. Alistair Witten, Scott, Standard Bank, and also the other donors. I'd like to also greet the Western Cape Education Department officials who are here, Maimuna Williams, clothing worker, clothing factory in Epping, but also the Western Cape chairperson of our great trade union, the other staff of SACTU who are here, and the shop suits who are here. And I'd like to also greet then finally what I hear is the school leadership teams who are here. So I bring you warm greetings, fraternal greetings from the National Office Bearers and the National Executive Committee of SACTU. It gives me great pleasure to say a few words, and I mean a few words. And this is really what I want to say. I want to just say that at the dawn of our democracy, when we can see the light at the end of the tunnel, we debated internally in SACTU what is the contribution that we as a trade union wish to make towards reconstruction and development of our beloved country beyond the workplace. Our work is focused in the workplace, but we thought now we need to really look at the country as a whole and not focus only so much of what we do as a trade union in the workplace. So we were not just interested at the time in words, but in projects and programs which will make a real, a measurable, and a concrete contribution towards eradicating the injustices of the past and to build a new, united South African nation. There were many projects that we considered at the time then. I remember debating it in our National Executive Committee. I was still a young organizer at the time. And these were projects that we considered such as combating HIV and AIDS, which of course we remember the dark days of that scourge. Job creation initiatives, because we knew unemployment was going to be a major challenge in the future. Support for the fight against women and child abuse. Establishing the continent's first trade union self-administered bursary scheme for further and higher education for workers and their dependents, etc., etc. We still today in this trade union run many of those projects. For example, we run the continent's largest self-administered trade union bursary fund. I was reflecting with Comrade Jabu here when we started it. We sourced a contribution of something, I think it was like 10 cents per worker per week. And at the time, we were running it for a few years, we could pay out a bursary to workers for which they were grateful. You know, whenever I went to a factory and we spoke about workers at that factory whose child got a bursary, you could just see how pleased they were. And the bursaries we paid out at that time amounted to 100 Rand per year, as an example. Today, after we've planted that seed, we pay out 4 university, tertiary education bursaries in the union. We pay out 75% of your fees to a maximum of 35,000 Rand. So I'm using that as an example, and Jabu is here. He was part of that debate at the time, and we're continuing to try to make a contribution beyond the workplace. But after careful reflection back then, we concluded that SACTU should also play an instrumental role to help to rebuild the broken education system caused by the destructive effects of apartheid. I want to repeat that because some of us try to hide. We needed to debate what can we as a trade union do to deal with the destruction that apartheid has caused in many aspects of our lives, in particular in the education system. In particular, after that reflection, we concluded that it would be important at the base education level to help lift the numeracy and the literacy standards and skills at pre- and primary school level, focusing on disadvantaged communities and in particular on previously disadvantaged learners. That was the conclusion of that debate. So in 1998, we got involved with EduPeg. We registered it as a Section 21 company, a not-for-profit organization, and then eventually we took full ownership of it in 2005. Amongst the full-time staff of the union back then, in that process, was driven by Jabu here. Not many people know it, with the assistance, of course, of others. But I can say without any fear of contradiction that the passion for the project came from Jabu. And what is so instructive to me is that now he is still here, involved in the project. It's no surprise to me. It's on the board after so many years. He could just like disappear and have a, like a cool life somewhere, but he's here because I think this Terran is in his heart. It's been a phenomenal journey. I'll give you some example. We are now in 2018, but I looked earlier at some of the reports that we wrote into previous union meetings, and I found one which said, in 2001, we reported on what have we done with EduPeg at the time. In 2001, at the time, we supported 1,400 schools, and at that time, we had already reached 1.3 million learners through the intervention. So that was back then. Okay? And imagine, I haven't done the calculations, but we should do that. After we looked at this a few years later, when Swirsky was still around, we said, look, you've got a shift now from just like churning out numbers, number of schools supported, number of educator supporters, number of learners reached, by now looking at what actually is the quality of delivery and the impact that this intervention has. So this year is EduPeg, now called Edufundi's 20th anniversary year. It is an important event. It's an important year. I don't think many people actually realize that 20 years, it's almost a lifetime. It's a culmination of a process of transition this year from the PEG and the board project, which Taryn has spoken about, of the past, towards a greater focus now on improving the quality of teaching. It's in recognition then of this necessary evolution, this change that is so important on the project, that the SAPTU National Executive Committee meeting, which met in May now this year, authorized and endorsed the name change from EduPeg and Edufundi, because we recognize there is now modernization and there is now a new focus, and it requires a new identity at the level of a name. So my presence here today is not to speak a lot. My presence here today as a representative of the 112,000 clothing, textile and leather workers that have had this vision, to come and say one word, and that is to say thank you to all of you. Thank you to the donors, the supporters, the departments, the partners, the staff. I can go on and on and on, but if there's one message that our union wants to leave with you at this AGM when you leave here, is you must just say, the union came to say thank you. So we've not really, meddled in the project. We've just watched it from a distance. We thought, it should evolve itself. We thought other partners should grow it. It's not because we want to own it and claim anything. We think it's great if other people run with it, because it helps us to realize, actually, when we identify education, numeracy and literacy deficiencies in disadvantaged schools at the pre and primary school level is important to focus on, it makes us happy. I also just want to say thank you that in a world where many projects are experiencing serious problems, in particular levels of weak governance, instances of corruption, lack of clear focus, weak delivery, we in the leadership of the union are very pleased that Edufundi is a shining example of distinction compared to what we see elsewhere. So thank you for that. So that's where I end. Thank you, and we wish you well for the rest of your AGM, and we wish you well for the future.
I feel. So wow, thank you very much. So it feels, in going back to celebrating our heritage, it's quite an important moment actually in the history of the organisation. I just want to pause and acknowledge that we are about to go into something new, and just to thank all of those who've walked this very long journey with us for being here. We have a point now on the agenda where it's commentary from the floor. I didn't have a particular person from the Western Cape Education Department, but I know there are people from the Western Cape Education Department who might want to say one or two things. We have some circuit managers, sorry, but I have to stand. We have circuit managers, we have principals. If there's any commentary, and also if there's any questions, if anyone has any questions about anything in particular, if you have any questions that we need to address, please do let us know.
Is Edufundi South African specific, or are you looking at expanding into Africa?
In the past, we have worked in Botswana, but our focus is in South Africa. And I think I speak on behalf of the board that we'll keep it that way. There's enough to do in this country, I think, that we need to keep it here.
I think what we have received here today is so informative. I'm very impressed with what I've seen. I thought I had one question to Hazel. She gave us the finance. She also acted on a lighter note, something that the donors that paid in cash or kind. She cannot pick
Comrade Buna, it's a financial term that's used. Cash is deposits into the bank account of the organization. And in kind, for example, Sun Square or Tesoko Sun often gives a very, very reduced rate. I think your accommodation here is 400 Rand per night, bed and breakfast. If you multiply that by 20 people, you're saving something like 700 Rand per person times 20 times 5 days. So whilst it might not be cash into the bank, they've reduced the account considerably. So that's the
All questions are welcome. Anyone else have any questions? Is there any more commentary from the floor? I'm going to open it to the department. I feel I'd like to.
There was one thing that struck me when I watched the video. I just want to say to you, this is a day of saying thank you, but I'm sure there were so many other teachers who could have shared those same stories. And it was so heartwarming to hear these wonderful stories. And I was actually emotional with that one specific teacher. But I think you, as a board, can take that forward and to say you are making a difference. And I walk out here today knowing that we've got a good partner. And we as a department and as an education district will nurture you and say thank you to you. And please don't give up, because we are making a difference in the lives of the future of South Africa. Thank you very much.
Anyone else? So Mr. Riddles was in the video. He's the principal of Woodville Primary School.
Okay, I'm going to move around. I went to a presentation by Mr. Price and Jet, who are also want to come on board with regards to leadership and leadership development. And I listed with them all the input that EduPeg has at our school. They turned around to say, listen, you've got enough. You're good enough, because they would just be duplicating that. And yeah, what we've received and what we are receiving from EduPeg and through the mentors, you must get these words right, mentees and mentors, and sometimes mental also. But something which they raised with us. I've just entered my 44th year of teaching. have one more year to go. And the comment was that I'm passionate about teaching, I'm passionate about the programs. Will that same passion be transferred and carried over to those who are coming after me? There were two of my educators that were flighted here. The one Afrikaans teacher and the other one with the frizzy hair. There are two educators who have grabbed this program and grabbed the opportunity to learn. It's a pity it's come 44 years too late for me. But the change which I've seen as the manager of the school, I've been managing for 21 years of the 40 something, but the discipline has changed. The way the teachers have, not just the foundation phase, not just the way they've taken it on board, but the whole school has adopted some of those methods, those techniques, and we have the whole school workshops. And thanks to Karen, who is our mentor. And some of those terminologies, I've seen it working right up to grade 7, although they're working with grade 1, 2, and 3. The entry into class, the do now, the cold calling, some of those other things that they have learned there, it has worked. There's been a turnaround in the school with what we've received. And then the close working relationship with Taryn and others, as they come in and just the rapport that we have, it has worked. And then Alistair was just come and guided us into the lead like a champion. You know, must get these teach like a champion, lead like a champion. And we've just had our first workshop with him. And I'm looking forward to when I go sit on my stoop at the end of June next year, when I finish after 45 years, possibly in my 45th year. I've got one more year to go. But I'm sure that what I've seen happening will turn our school around as to the levels. Congratulations on 100%. We're going to get there. And in spite of, and I need to close, I'm talking too much. In spite of where our school is, Woodville Primary is in Woodlands, where the heart of the protests is happening now. Opposite my school, they looted their shop, the fridge was standing outside. The moral depravity is evident. But I'm sure with what the teachers are doing, what you're doing, what the other teachers, as I see them just giving themselves to the teachers. As I said, this is not a job, it's a call. And as teachers are led to grab the call to teach upon their lives, I'm sure with the funders here, with the mentors, with the leadership which Taryn gives, and the leadership which others give input in our schools will have the turnaround which you're looking for. So thank you.
Yes.
On your question.
This is my friend. This is Dube from Ludwig Gamlana Primary School. Very
Greetings to all protocol observed. But I was just burning before he stand up inside me. That's, if given an opportunity to say something, I have to. I think our school is 10 years. It's 10 years old. And our school has been struggling with the issue of having bigger numbers of learners, where we'll have more big classes, where it was a school that is supposed to take a capacity of 1,200 learners, where it has to go up to 1,600 learners. So you would see that you would, as a leader and with the leaders that you work with, you've got a vision that you have to push, but things are very difficult, and in terms of results, things are not going the way that we desire, and we see ourselves as a school that would excel one day. When will it be? But in our hearts and in our vision, we knew that we're going to make a difference. I think we've worked with Ulantuka push no's in the other years where there was read and all that. We were also involved. Sometimes you see resistance in the teachers that they are not coping. Some other people would go out because teachers are not participating fully. But when EduPack, when we were identified that we will be working with EduPack, there was that resistance at first, but as we unpacked it to the staff, and as everyone had to go in, and as we were invited to meet, and we were divided that you'll be part of EduPack, you'll be part of this NGO, and all those other companies. We got excited because the team that came and explained to us that we are not here to judge you, we are not here to, you've been nullified or you've been wounded and bruised, but we are here to bring hope. We are here to say, let's work together, let's journey together and turn the school around. And at the moment, I'm proud to say that that has happened. Through the number that we had, and even last year we had about, as January this year, we had about 1,800 learners.
Wow.
This year. But through the turnaround, through the workshops, through the developments, through the growth, the mentees, and with the entire team through your leadership, Terrain, that has impacted a great deal in our school. Last year, it was our first time this year to be called for the awards of the minister. It was just, hey, we are invited, and everybody was excited. I was also on leave, and when I look at the mate and I wanna be there, I responded because it was like a wow thing, because we really haven't been there. Would see on the news that some schools have been called to get some awards by the minister and all that. We have never tasted that, but through the support and through everything, the techniques that EduPack with Philip that have bring to our school, we got the results of illiteracy, we got an award. On the results of maths, we got an award. Wow. And the results are, in terms of the systemic, they changed up to 83%. I think my second keep it up, keep the good back. You are making a change, you are making a difference, you are building citizens that will stand up proud. We thank you and we value what we are doing. We appreciate, and it's not just to the funders, keep on doing it because you are seeing that it's making a difference to those little ones. Now our faces, the teachers' faces, they are always enthusiastic to go to. At first it was like what you say, that you say, ooh, EduPack, ooh, what's gonna, ooh, lesson plans now, ooh, more planning, more administration on that, all that, but that mind shifted and we're excelling through your support and everything you're doing.
I'm sorry, I can't mention all the good results at all. Thank you. And if there's anyone else, okay. Yay.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I've just been asked by the team, Terrain, to say just one word to you. They said to me, I must tell you that we are here to walk this journey with you, and we are not going to walk behind you. We are just by your sides. And they embrace change that you brought into the company, and we appreciate your support. Keep on giving, and also we'll keep on giving it to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. So I'm going to ask Karine Abel to close on behalf of the Edufundi board. It'll take us time. And then I just invite everybody after that. We're going to have, we call it a cocktail event, but we're going to have some drinks and snacks outside and just a chance to meet everybody and talk to everybody.
Hi, everybody that I don't know. I'm Corinne Abel. I'm one of the trustees on the board of EduPeg. And I have seen the changes, and they have been immense. I think many of you, some of you were here when Amon introduced Taryn as the new director and talked about the changes and said, let's welcome her and let's support her and stand next to her, not behind her. So I'm glad about that. And I do think that the organization is doing amazing work. That video was very emotional for me and I'm sure for many people. Education is the core, and thank you, Alistair, for mentioning on-site mentoring in the classroom, because that is what it's about. And I remember talking to Liz at the time and saying, Liz, you know, Comrade Andre spoke about that. How many schools have we reached? What is the point of saying you've reached all these schools and all these learners, but how have you touched them? In what way? And I think more and more we said you have to hone down and you have to make a difference to a smaller group of people, because that's all you can reach. And I'm just so delighted to see that is happening, that Mr. Rills, you talk about having teachers who will take this forward. I feel so much passion in this room. It's just amazing. It's on fire. So keep being on fire. Thank you to everyone. Thanks to all the admin staff and the EduPeg team who we haven't mentioned. Thanks to everybody who is here and who keeps this alive and kicking. Thanks so much.
Sorry, I just have to say one more thing. Thank you, because you mentioned the admin staff, and I've neglected to mention them, and to mention Tia, Sarah, Dorinda, and Robisa, and we also have Kindred, who's visiting us from America for 8 weeks. So just to say, there was a lot of effort that went into this event. So thank you for that. Okay, so officially closed.